As I said before, this is the West Tigers Faithful Podcast. My name is Joe Mac McCord, and joining me today is absolutely nobody. I am all on my own, and I have never done this before on my own. So I do apologize in advance if this absolutely sucks. On today's show, we will be discussing the trivial pursuit of happiness and life as a West Tigers fan, as we have gone down once again, this time to the Penrith Panthers in a bit of a flogging, and we were all left scrambling for answers to questions we probably shouldn't actually be asking, and only are doing so because we have an irrational love for a club that represents nothing whatsoever. So let's begin with a bit of an unpacking of the game. Panthers defeated us 36-2, and there's not really all that much to say, aside from the fact that I think that the team had a red hot crack, at least at first. I'm a little bit confused, though, as to why our game plan was to try to beat Penrith where they're strong. If you guys can give me some answers, I would appreciate it. I'm not 100% sure why Benji Marshall would decide, when we're undermanned, no less, to try to beat them at their own game, win a game of trench warfare with a team that has won 4 straight premierships that are on a 6-game winning streak. But alas, that's what occurred. And it was pretty much just non-stop rocking it out from our own end and kicking it in the sky. On the positives, I think Sunia Taruva had a fantastic game, and it's quite good to see that we have such an adequate backup for Jahream Bula when somebody who is so important to the team, like Jahream Bula, goes down. I think that, it's probably usually in most other teams pretty tough to win games, and I think that Suni is 2-2 at the moment, which is great. But Jahream is back this week. On other subjects, I suppose we could discuss some of the lowlights. What's the deal with Stafford Toa? There's a man who's crashed back down to earth, injured. It sure looks like it. And his counterpart, Jarrell Skelton, quite similarly looks like he's playing injured, which I'm not 100% sure I understand if that is the case. Stafford's, I guess, recession of form, recession's probably the wrong word, has seemed to coincide somewhat with his contract, because I remember a few weeks back, Stafford was rumoured to have re-signed, came out with an Instagram post saying no, bunch of bullshit. And now all of a sudden his form has fallen off a cliff. So I'm not 100% sure if there's a correlation or causation there. It is a little bit curious. I think that by and large, there is not really, it's not rocket science. We don't really need to go into too much detail to fully unpack exactly why we lost this game. We were just outclassed and outmuscled in the forwards. We weren't really able to get out of our own end. None of our forwards really punched through the line. They weren't really pulling through the line, lacked post-contact meters. And we didn't really get all that much value out of many of our backs from that perspective, which is a shame. We had 2 very large backs. Taruva generated a lot of post-contact meters, I thought, but Skelton and Tui Tupu really lacked impact, especially Skelton. He's really not running hard. He's not running the same way that he was earlier in the season, which is quite a shame. And again, hopefully, fingers crossed, that's something that he can fix and get back to that early season form. It does seem like there's a little bit of I guess, like a playbook on Skelton now. Getting up and cutting him off, making sure that he's not actually able to wind up so that he doesn't actually make those post-contact meters. I thought Tua Tupu was a little bit better than Skelton on the weekend, in fairness. I thought he had a little bit more little bit more impact coming out of our own end. But obviously, neither of them really set the world on fire. Taylor May tried hard. I thought Latu Fainu was very quiet. I thought Jerome Luai, tried really hard, but again, really failed to make an impact. I don't know if Latu really took a single kick in that game. I don't remember him seeing it. Jerome really, pretty much just kicked and kicked and kicked, and none of his kicks really did much. We didn't really put much pressure on the defenders when they were fielding those kicks. So it was, very one-dimensional. Reminded me a lot of Taylor ball. Wasn't too much to write home about there. I can see we have 2/5 of fuck all people actually tuned in today. I got 5 viewers. Just goes to show who the star of this podcast is. But hey, if you are here, please comment. Make me feel a little bit better about wasting my afternoon here by myself, all on my lonesome, while I waffle incoherently about West Tigers all on my own. This is very vulnerable. Makes me feel a little bit naked. So seeing some comments pop up in the stream is going to make me feel a little bit better. In the pack, without having Jared here to kind of control some of my stupid hot takes, I'm gonna like go back to something I said right at the start of the season. I am not convinced about Terrell May. Now, that's not to say I don't think that he's good, and I don't think that he's got value. But we really need Terrell to focus on being a pack leader and actually dominating the collision and taking on, the opposite number and actually winning that alpha male battle in the pack. And he's very at the moment he seems very Woods and not the good Woods. He's backing into contact, looking for offloads, not hitting the line at speed. And when we've got Twal, Seafarth, Sakar, and Dewey in the pack with him, it's not a very intimidating pack. It's not a very dominant pack, and we saw that play out. Penrith, ran without fear, tackled without fear, and briefly when Volle and Fainu came onto the field, they did make a bit of an impact, but it was a bit of a losing battle because even when you look at the bench, they bring on Liam Martin, who had a massive impact, and Patea also had a pretty strong game. Appy continues to underperform. Hopefully we can see some improvement across the board before the end of the season. Otherwise, we're just going to be going into the off-season asking a lot of questions. It'd be nice if we had a little bit of a turnaround in form, strung a few wins together before the end of the season so we can enter the off-season with some optimism. But signs are not amazing. However, we are on with this week's game. So this week we are playing against the Bulldogs. We are paying $3.57 with Sportsbet, $1.29 for the Dogs. And we have some pretty big returns. Dream Baller is back, as is Samuela Fainu, and Big Royce Hunt returns to the bench, and that is going to certainly improve our ability to actually win those collisions and to own the middle. In fact, we've gone with a 4 forwards bench for what I believe is the first time all year, and we've also seen Jack Bird has been dropped. So Tui Tupu and Bird have been dropped from the side, replaced by Royce Hunt and Samuela Fainu, and Dream Bull obviously back to fullback, Sunia Taruva onto the wing. It's definitely the strongest team that we could have possibly named. In fact, I think it's full strength. I'm not sure we actually have any injuries anymore. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. This seems to be our full strength side, which in round 22 is pretty amazing. I know in past seasons, we've been able to look at injury woes as potentially reasons for why we might be struggling, but I think we've been the least injured team all year. So shout outs to the strength and conditioning crew at the club. You've certainly paid your way this season. But it's a big ask up against the Bulldogs, who will be without Connor Tracy, who is out, replaced by Jacob Kiraz at fullback, and Rinakama and Tuala are the wingers. Obviously, the big storyline heading into this game is going to be Galvin versus the Tigers. Can we spring the upset and rock the confidence of the traitorous Lachlan Galvin, or will the Cheshire Cat continue to laugh at us? Ha 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 ha! I know what I know my head and heart are in two different places on this front, because the Bulldogs are definitely a formidable team. They're playing in great form. It'd be a hell of a turnaround, even with the inclusions of Jareem, Sam Weller, and Royce Hunt. Let's talk about it though. Let's try to come up with a bit of a winning game plan. How do we beat the Bulldogs? Well, first, I think we have to look at our defence. The Bulldogs are definitely a defensive side. They don't beat teams generally by racking up big scores. It's not their modus operandi. I wouldn't expect them to do so here, regardless, especially with us at full strength. I think that we probably need to focus on limiting them to potentially 3 or less tries, and then hoping that we just can capitalize on a few of our opportunities when we usually do not. I think that, if we concede 4 to 5 tries, it's going to be very, very hard for me to see how we can score enough points to defeat them. However, if we can limit them to 3 or less tries, maybe we can win a close game with them. But that being said, we should probably not look to win a grind either, because we will just get grounded into paste. I think that we probably need to probably max out a bit on attack, and actually, really try to actually score some points. One thing that I haven't really enjoyed this season is the lack of attacking that we've done from our own end. It's not really something that I see coming from us very much. And when you compare it to sides like the Dolphins, who really like to attack out of their own end, you can see that, there's a lot of opportunities that open up when you attack out of your own end. Obviously, compressed defenses, players are a little bit slower to get back on side. But then you see down, when they get into the red zone and they're defending the red zone, their defense is a little bit better set. They're spread out, and we don't really seem to try to unleash plays from our own end, which is a bit of an issue. Hopefully, with the return of Buller and a full strength backline, maybe we'll see a little bit more adventure in the play. Maybe we'll see a bit more of a spread. We would need to see a big game from Stafford Toa, I think. If we're actually able to win here. But really, it's a tough ask. It is a big pack. You are right. Culture Bogan in the chat writes, big bench, Terrell to play less minutes. We would hope so. I certainly would like to see it. I think I'd like to see Terrell empty the gas tank a bit more, go a bit harder, and actually, maybe get himself down. I wouldn't get him down to 50 or 55, but at least getting him down to 60 minutes. Maybe you give Royce Hunt those extra minutes, where Royce Hunt's not going to give you a massive amount of time on the field, but like if he's going to get minutes off anybody, it probably makes sense to be off of Terrell. Look, yeah, it's tough. It's tough for me to be optimistic about this weekend's game. The Bulldogs, Sam Hughes and Max King starting props. I mean, Max King did play Origin this year over Terrell, so maybe Terrell can use that as a bit of ammunition and try to find some inspiration there. But they're not the most incredible prop forwards, and really, I guess the Bulldogs, if you look at their bench, you got Bailey Hayward, Josh Curran, Harry Hayes, Kurt Mann on their bench. In the middle, they are kind of maybe the point here, CB. It may be that Benji's going to just go all out war through the middle and hopefully, get some dividends there. So maybe you see a big game from Appy. Obviously, they've got Kikau and Preston who are great back rowers. So maybe the objective here is to work them over in the middle and see if we can't find some, especially with Baller back. Maybe that's the go. Maybe that's the go. Maybe that's the plan, and maybe that's what Benji's thinking. And hopefully, come 2 p.m. on Sunday, we see that. All right, I'm going to stop waffling and move on to the next game to review, which is the New South Wales Cup game. We actually won, which was fantastic. We went up by quite a good score early in the game and nearly got run down at the end. However, we did manage to escape with a narrow 24-22 win over the Bears on Friday night. Strange time slot for a New South Wales Cup game, but it was a good watch. I thought that the Magpies played quite well, and the Bears also surprised me, to be honest, especially in that second half. Quite an unheralded squad the Bears run out. Not really anybody of any kind of renown in that side. The likes of Jake Toby, Israel Ogden, Jesse Marshke, who are like New South Wales Cup toilers off of Hickey Ogden, etc. Not really much first grade experience in that side, up against the likes of Staines and Fatape and Lalali'i and Naden, Royce Hunt. I would have thought that I honestly thought that we were going to spank him, and it certainly looked like that at halftime. We went up 18-0, and we were pretty miserable in the second half. I got to say, it was pretty. It felt like it went by very quick because the Bears felt like they were in control almost that entire second half. But they really only ended up scoring 4 tries, and it was a penalty try in this. Sorry, an 8-point try, a possible 8-point try in the 65th minute to Luke Lalali'i that ended up proving the difference because he managed to score while Jake Toby, the fullback, came across and smashed him in the head. Falls missed the conversion from the sideline, but kicked the one from in front, and we ended up winning by 2. I will just go through a few names and rate their performances. I think Alex Lobb at fullback has been something of a low-key, I don't want to say revelation. That's probably overstating it, but he has been really surprising to me. His performances at fullback. I think Josh Vellaty, since he's returned to New South Wales Cup after kind of dominating Flegg, has kind of found himself. Luke Lalali'i had a really good game. Brent Naden continues to just be all over the place when he plays in New South Wales Cup. Doesn't matter what position he's in. Royce Hunt has earned his recall, to be honest. I thought he was really quite impressive. One of the tries that we scored came directly off the back of like a 20-meter carry where he dragged people all the way close to the line before Lovadua just dived over from dummy half. Peter Tarteo also was quite impressive. Sort of similar type of player, like just a bit of a wrecking ball style of prop. Not like big, tall, dominant Nelson style, but more like, in your kind of junior polo kind of mold, but maybe a bit smaller, bit shorter, definitely. Eliel Zackham was probably the pick of the forwards, I thought. He was a threat every time he carried it, and he is a highly involved player, or at least he was on the weekend. His involvements were really quite eye-catching, and he seems like a threat to offload almost every time. He's had a really good season and good find. 28, so he'd be lucky if he gets called up to first grade. But given our depth in the back row, you never know. He has been named on the extended bench at least once this year. So, if he continues to perform well and we get towards the end of the season and, Alex and Sukar and that, and, fall out of favor or whatever, maybe Benji will just give him a jersey just to reward him if we're out of contention or something like that. Charlie Murray had a really good game. He looks like he's actually packed on quite a lot of size. There was a few times where he actually pulled through tackles, which surprised me. And on the bench, I thought the pick there was Jackson Rame, who has got to be asking what he needs to do to actually get favoured, because he has been definitely the New South Wales Cup Player of the Year in this side this season, and I don't actually think it's particularly close. And he's not even starting. He might be starting this week, considering Royce Hunt's back in first grade. But let me have a look and see if that's the case, actually. No, he is on the bench again. So this week they're up against the Canberra Raiders, who are in eighth. Have a quick look at the ladder. The Magpies are in ninth, the Raiders in eighth. So with a win, they'll jump the Raiders into eighth. The Bulldogs, who are ahead of them on 21, have a significant points differential advantage over the Magpies. So the best the Magpies can end the round is moving up to eighth. In the event that the Bulldogs and the Roosters lose, they will be in striking distance of sixth, but they have a bit of a mountain to climb to catch Penrith. Although, even though Penrith have a bye this weekend, Penrith's run home is pretty tough. So this weekend you've got the Roosters up against the 12th place Sea Eagles. So Roosters would be favoured. The Dogs are up against the fourth place Jets. So the dogs might go down. So it is an important game for the Magpies and the Raiders too, obviously. Both sides still in with a shot. I would say it's a massively realistic shot, though. It would require the Magpies essentially to win out. I think next week the Raiders are up against the second place Dragons, which is good. Panthers have a challenging match against the Jets, and the Magpies have the bye next week. So if they do win this week and then they get the bye next week, come the week after, they might be actually in. The whole complexion may change. What else we got? What's the Roosters in round 23? The Roosters play the Rabbitohs. Okay, so the Roosters have a bit of a gimme there. And then our run home after our bye is actually not too bad. So we've got the Rabbitohs followed by the Dogs. So that'll be a big game because both sides will hopefully still be in contention at that time. And then the Magpies play the Roosters, who are again close to in contention. So I mean, it's an interesting run home. We've got the Rabbitohs, which we should beat, and then we've got pretty much destiny games against the Dogs and the Roosters, who, if we manage to beat both of them, we'll be beating teams that are right there in contention with us. Meanwhile, the Panthers play the Warriors, the Dragons. So they play the Warriors, who are first, the Dragons, who are second, the Jets, who are fourth, and they have a bye. So the run home after the bye for the Panthers is really tough. So, um, yeah, who knows? We might actually be lucky and see our New South Wales Cup side in the finals. They certainly have the run home, and their competitors have worse run homes to actually make a fist of it. But this week they are up against Canberra, who do have a pretty good side. Even though Canberra are running eighth, fullback they've got Chevy Stewart and they've got Pasami Solo in the back row, Jordan Martin on the bench. Canberra's side is not fully named yet either. They're missing a centre. They're missing their seven, who's probably Ethan Sanders. Um, yeah, it looks like they've just got a few names that they've just not added to the New South Wales nswrl.com.au website yet. We've got Heath Mason back at fullback. He missed last week, and we had a win. Isaac Tuichupu obviously returns. Charlie Stones, Mapapalungi in the centres. Charlie Stones in the centres. That's interesting. I thought Felity probably deserved to keep his jersey. So they've favoured Staines and Mapapalungi in the centres over Fatape and Felity. Brent Naden at 6, and we also haven't named a 7 yet. That'll be obviously Kurt Falls. Kitlalali at 8, Hope 9, Tateo, Luke Jack, Elzak and Murray. The bench, Lob, Rami Porter, Vaka Aho, Joe Lovadua, and Fatape on the extended bench. So Tristan Hope has actually also been dropped back to New South Wales Cup. Didn't mention that one. All right, before we have a chat about flag, I'll just quickly switch. So David asks, why does our attack look so bad this late in the season? Teams below us look better in attack. I think it comes down to the fact that most of the off season and obviously early in the season, everything we were doing was designed to revolve around Galvin. And when Galvin left, we made a sudden pivot to Fainu, who has looked good at times, but at the same time, we're just sort of we haven't really had a solid run with the same side together since we lost Galvin. Whether that's because Bull has been hurt or, they tried Dewey in the halves because Luai played Origin and then they moved Dewey to 13. I think it's just really, I just get the impression that we have, we look like a side that's in the first week of the off season as opposed to round 20 odd. And at the end of the day, that probably, comes down to coaching, doesn't it? Like, I mean, if first and foremost, like revolving the entire success, putting all of the success of the season into the hands of a guy who said he was going to leave the club. It's a little bit of a questionable decision. A guy who, uh, gave no impression that he was planning on staying for the long haul. I suppose in fairness to Benji, Richard was implying that like he was going to be here till the end of next year, no matter what, and that situation changed. But you got to have a backup plan, right? You got to have a backup plan, and it seems evident that they didn't really have a backup plan. And I think beyond that, I just feel like Jerome Luai, like I think they expected Jerome Luai to be able to handle the role of a 7, not just like as a game manager, but also to like balance being a game manager with actually bringing some strike. And unfortunately, he hasn't really been able to find that balance. He has gravitated from one end to the other, where some weeks he favors running and really trying to like be a playmaker X factor, and then other weeks he'll like last week just fall back into the pattern of just steering the team around and putting up kicks. And I don't necessarily think that like Dewey at 13 has actually done Luai any favors, so I might be alone in that. But I think Dewey at 13 has kind of if anything, like made both Luai and Latu, given them like a bit of a safety blanket that's kind of meant that they've sort of faded into the background a little bit instead of forcing them to step up, especially Latu. It's very easy for a player of Latu's experience level to kind of just defer, especially when you've got voices as dominant as Adam Dewey and Jerome Luai there. And I don't think it's to his credit. I think that yeah, I personally favour the idea of finishing out the season with Dewey and Luai in the halves and giving Latu a spell. Not. I know a lot of people prescribe to the idea of like Latu needs minutes in first grade to gel, but I think Latu just as much needs minutes at 7 in a stable side at a level that's sort of more, one that he can potentially dominate or at the very least not be overwhelmed and overawed in. And then, we're struggling in first grade. It's a tough end to the season. There's a lot of pressure. Pressure's mounting. Be good to just get Latu out of the limelight and put that pressure on two very experienced heads. And frankly, Adam Dewey and Jerome Luai as a halves combination, probably not that bad. Adam Dewey has been definitely, the player who has uh, you know, delivered the best outcomes when he's had his hands on the ball over the last month and a half. And Jerome Luai, you can just put him back into his more natural role as a 6. Let Dewey kick, which he's good at, kick long, kick high, and just let Luai play the game that he's used to playing. It'd be worth a dice roll. That's just my opinion, though. All right. We might as well just jump into some questions before I just have a quick skirt around the old flag and stuff like that. Thoughts on Jock Madden coming back? Yeah, good call. I'm a big Jock Madden fan. I always have been. I think I got really disappointed when we let Jock Madden go and favoured Luke Brooks over him. I was of the impression that we should have given Jock Madden an extended run at 7 when Luke Brooks was here. And I know Jock Madden's not a world beater, and I know time has proven that. Like, back when I was making those statements, he was still quite young. And I know there's been some times that Jock Madden has played first grade and struggled, but he always seemed like he just had he was a better decision maker. Like he was better at steering the team around. He put the ball in the right spots. Like, put it this way, Jock Madden. I think I'd trust Jock Madden to kick a 40-20 or a field goal with more confidence than any of the other halves that we currently have at the club. I'd also trust Jock Madden to make a smart decision, like when to kick early in the tackle count. Like on the weekend, he tried to kick early in the tackle count and just kicked it straight down Dylan Edwards' throat. When Jock Madden makes decisions like that, they do seem to be the right ones. Um, and you know what? Like he's got pedigree. He's Australian schoolboy. He was having a good season in Queensland Cup before he went down with a pec injury this year. Um, Late bloomers, I think. So don't write him off. Look at Billy Walters. Billy Walters, you know, came to the Tigers. Didn't really amount to much. Goes to the Broncos, and he's a week in week out first grader now. So I know that's not the same story, but who's to say Jock Madden can't come good? And Seems like a good dude. I'm glad to see him back. It's nice for a change to see a player return to the club after leaving the club, because so many players before him have so unceremoniously left the club and seem to have done so in acrimonious circumstances. Unceremoniously acrimonious. Fuck me. I am a thesaurus today. Angelo, does Latu have a kicking game? If not, does Jock next season? I don't think Latu steers the team around the park. I'm also hoping either Latu or Charlie Murray will be the ball playing lock. Cheers. Round one is going to be Latu and Jerome. No doubt about that. And probably that will continue to be the case unless we go on one hell of a slide or Benji gets a sack or something like that. I think I have faith in Latu Finu long term. I do. I see in him. I see in him somebody who can be a seven. He reminds me a lot of Isaiah Katoa when he first entered first grade. Everyone sees Katoa this year as that dominant player, and like it is amazing to see his growth. He's probably the form halfback in the whole NRL. But in his first few games in his first season, he struggled. He came in and out of games. He showed signs, but he was for the most part, just really didn't quite understand how to make an impact. And Latu looks like he does all the things right. Like he's got the right swagger and he carries himself correctly and he has a good part. Like he's got obviously good traits. He just hasn't figured out how to put it all together yet. And when you haven't figured out how to put it all together yet, fucking what chance do you have of also steering a team around the park if you haven't even got your own game? And if you haven't even figured out your own game, how are you going to figure out other people's games? So, look, I have faith. I think Latu will be the seven. But hey, Jock Madden 7, Luai 6. Luai's been an adequate 6 outside of 7s that are worse than Jock Madden. Like Luai played probably, I assume that he played a fair bit with Colgar, Falls, etc. at times at Penrith. Could do worse, but I very much doubt that Jock Madden will be the starting 7 next year unless we have injuries. And look, I know I just sort of said a lot of positive things about Jock Madden, but if Jock Madden is our number 1 starting 7 come round 1 next year, or for an extended period of time next year, I don't believe we will be doing very well. So I certainly hope that Latu comes good. A bit of a detour, Mac. I hope. I'm gonna caveat. I'm going to stop right there and say I expect that CB thinks I'm just going to read these words straight off the screen, and they may contain some pretty stupid, profane things. But you know what, YOLO, I'm going to read them anyway. What do you reckon about players who want out of a club not being able to sign for more elsewhere at another club? Oh, it's a genuine question, CB. Like all systems, I'm sure there's ways to rort it. But do you think it would mitigate some of the dollar chasing that takes place in the NRL? What the fuck? This is an essay, brother. Sorry, the comments have a character. They would likely fight back against player managers since they will be no better off, even though the managers may get incentives to do so. Player signs with Club A for 500k for 3 years. In his first season, he wants out because Club B offers a 2-year contract at 900k. He can leave but cannot sign for more than 500k for those 2 years. That's how it works in the NFL, I think, CV. Like you sign a contract that like you're under contract, right? I think what it comes down to is that the play like in NRL the players have heaps and heaps of control and it's because of their union. The RLPA is very effective. The RLPA also, I believe that the agents are represented by the RLPA. So it's, yeah, like I think the union has basically just got way more power. And there's, obviously a conversation to have about that. I'm not going to go live having a conversation about unions versus fucking businesses. That's not actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do that. Let's have that conversation. Are you pro-union? Let me know in the comments. Are you a union guy or are you a corporate guy? Let us know in the comments. Me, I'll give you two guesses. I am I am a company man, baby. I'm all about the company. Cha-ching. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm actually not. But don't tell my bosses because I'm currently using their equipment. Look, at the end of the day, yeah, you did, man. I thought you were going to say something. Can you actually like give me something, like pop up something on the screen that I can read that's actually absurd? That'd be really nice. I'm sure you can come up with something really good. Um, it's a good idea, but like fat chance getting it across, bro. Like when we're in the situation that we're in with the where the players have so much control, and I don't need it anytime soon. Um, Short of another Super League war, but like I mean, I don't know, like that sort of solution just feels to me like the sort of thing that would just get kiboshed by the players. Yeah, Clint Newton, maybe. He's going to war with Big Ant Studios. Player likenesses, apparently. Let's go after an indie developer that's only got the contract to do the NRL because the NRL's too poor and poverty stricken to pay EA or 2K to make them a real game. So let's get mad at the indie developer studio that made no other games in history that anybody's ever heard of. Um, we've got a RLPA boss who has that much time on his hands and has that much um, appetite for being a dickhead. It just goes to show the situation. Today I'm wearing black underwear. All right, let's talk about Jersey Flegg. Jersey Flegg side had a win. Did they? No, it was a bye week. Let's not talk about Jersey Flegg. Let's talk about NRLW. So that game was only the night before last, and they played good. It was a good game. It was a highly competitive game between the Sharks and the West Tigers women's, but they unfortunately went down. Man, it's tough to see them winning a game. If they didn't manage to jag that one, they've been so close in so many games though. It's kind of like I'm conflicted because part of me looks at them and just goes, "There's just not enough class. They haven't got enough speed, size. They get bullied. They can barely get out of their own end." But at the same time, man, they're spirited. They really try very very hard. I think that and in that sense, you would expect that they'll ambush a side at least once this season. Like some other team will show up and just not bring it, and we'll beat them. But at the same time, I think that they've been overlooked by every team they've played, and those teams have still managed to just eke out a victory. So it's tough. Want to shout out a couple of people though. Keezy Apps is having the best season she's had since she's been at the Tigers. It's just a shame we don't have enough class around her to actually. It's just a shame we haven't got enough class around her to take advantage of what she's bringing to the table. 207 meters from 20 carries on the weekend, in the back row, no less. I thought Sarah Togatuki was good too. Surprise, surprise, the two rep players that we have in the side are the two best players. Shout outs to the rookie winger, Caitlin Turnbull, who came to us from the Parramatta Eels SWRL Premiership side. I think that was the case. Or Wenty Magpies. One of the two. I don't know what they're called in that league. I think it might be Wenty, or it was. 6 tries she scored this season now, which has her at the top of the NRLW try scorers list in a side that has scored 10 in total. So she has 60% of the total tries the team has scored. And she's not just falling over the line either, to be honest. The 2 tries she scored on the weekend were both really classy. So shout outs to Caitlin Turnbull, a real highlight of the season. And you know what? That's pretty much it for football. So if you guys want to just ask me a few questions in the chat, and then I'll wrap up and I'll put this whole solo Mac week behind me. Um, Acknowledge me, uh, lather me in praise in the chat. Make me feel good about myself for because I was gonna pike. I was straight up like I went on Twitter and I'm dogging this shit. I'm dogging it. But you know what? I jumped on here with no script whatsoever, and I think it's been all right. I've heard worse podcasts. I managed to speak pretty much non-stop for 46 minutes. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. CB, thanks for the question. What's the strangest encounter I've ever had with an NRL personality? Actually, I have a pretty good story. So many, many moons ago, I was in the Treasury Casino in Brisbane, and I was, on it with a couple of mates. What would have this been? I'm gonna say 2010, maybe 2009. And I stumbled up to a blackjack table. There was a dude there playing on his own, and I just sat down. Didn't really, ask or anything. I just sat down and just started playing blackjack. And I was drunk. I had no idea how to play really. Like, I mean, not that anybody does because blackjack's a scam, but I was struggling, and this dude starts giving me tips. He's literally telling me what to do. It's like, hit whatever, and I started winning because he was telling me what to do, and I ended up winning a fair bit. No, I'm not talking thousands, but like I got my money back and then some a little bit. I was like, "Oh, thanks, brother." Grabbed the chips, stumbled away, and then like my mates are standing about 6 feet behind the blackjack table, and he's like, "Here's your form, playing blackjack with Carmichael Hunt." I'm like, I turn around and I look over, and the dude it was fucking Carmichael Hunt the whole time, just sitting there, just like coaching me how to play blackjack. And what I didn't notice was he was flanked by goons, bro. Like like multiple sides of him, he had these like big fucking Tongan looking motherfuckers flanked him. I go back over because I was like, I wanted to say thanks and like actually, I missed my opportunity to like fangirl out over Carmichael Hunt. And as I walked over to like, speak to him, one of the Tongan blokes just stood in front of me and just goes, "Fuck off." And I was like, "Oh, sorry, brother," and just walked off. So that's my story. I thought I've got a couple. The only other funny story I have is probably the one that involves Hodges, same venue. Um, Justin Hodges bummed a durry off me out the front of this treasury one night. Yeah, it's not the most amazing story ever, but he bummed a dart. Justin Hodges. That was the night that I realised that footy players are peoples too. What do we got, Mac? I reckon you should do a joint show with the Tiger Town boys. They're here in Brisbane Vegas while Rudy is away. You know what? It's interesting you say that, David, because I was actually going to invite them too. I actually don't know if you know this, David, but the Tiger Town, Toby from Tiger Town went to the same school as me. We're from the same town, same age, same town. Even have similar friends. We have mutual friends. We weren't ever close ourselves, but yeah, like some of my absolute closest friends here are his high school buddies, which is quite ironic that we both decided to just go make Tigers themed podcasts. Some might say that it was Toby that inspired me. You're an inspiration, Toby Burke. Bryce, he says he cannot evaluate my solo performance yet, Mac, as he has not long tuned in. Either way, hope Jared is enjoying his break in Tassie. Mate, I am sure he is, because after the performance on the weekend, I very much doubt that Jared would have had much positives to say about the West Tigers. And with that, I'm done here. CB, if you're still in the chat, you have about 30 seconds to say something stupid, and I'll read it out live on air, and hopefully it makes people laugh. And then I'm going to fuck off. And I'm not going to count. I'm just going to click the button to shut the stream down very shortly. Hopefully you're typing really fast. If you liked this podcast, or if you didn't, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on X, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, follow us on MySpace, Blogger, Tumblr, LinkedIn, Reddit, Yeah, r slash I am the walrus, he says. Right. Really lacking in inspiration this week, aren't you, buddy? All right, it's been real, team. Mac out. See you all next week. Look, I'm still here because I decided before I wrapped up to regale you in some quantum philosophy, just to smooth you into the rest of your Tuesday evening. I am going to give you some wisdom, 10 affirmations directly from the quantum. For your listening pleasure. Affirmation 1. I am the observer and the architect. My focus determines the form of my world. Mm-hmm. Affirmation 2. My beliefs are the quantum code that collapse infinite possibilities into lived experience. Quite so. Number 3. There is no universal truth I must conform to, only the truth I choose to embody. I like it. Number 4, I shift realities by shifting the beliefs I empower with attention. Attention. Number 5, all conflicting truths can coexist. I do not need to invalidate others to validate myself. Think about it. Number 6, what I focus on becomes my truth. What I ignore loses form in my experience. Ignore it, and it doesn't exist. Number 7, my current reality is not fixed. I can step into any version of myself by tuning my consciousness. You got something about you hate, you're guilty, you have a personality defect that sucks. Just wake up tomorrow and don't be it anymore. Easy. Number 8, I give myself permission to reject external frameworks and author my own reality. Number 9, each moment is a quantum choice point. I align with the timeline that serves my highest joy. Not lowest, highest joy. And number 10, I am both the wave and the particle, potential and presence, playing in a field of infinite becoming. Infinite becoming. West Tigers, faithful, Mac out. Enjoy the rest of your week.